Welcome back to the Thrifted Dragon, where we are making a skull project. The skull is from the Dollar Tree, and the clay that we use is also from the Dollar Tree. A lot of the embellishments can be found at the Dollar Tree as well. The moss and things I got from different projects that I already had. You could use any kind of flocking, and we'll get into how to make this right now. Today we're going to be making
This creepy thing I found.
skull. This is what we're making, and it's inspired by death. I made it with Dollar Tree materials, using things that might have been discarded, such as your skull. And you're gonna find out how, right now!
You will witness what happens here today, and you will tell of it later.
So I have my palette here, my paper plate, and I'm using chalk paint for my base coat. And I'm gonna just base coat that Dollar Tree skull, give it like a primer coat. This paint is really nice because it's a matte finish, and I want a matte finish, not the shiny finish that's already on that skull. I form my turkey tail mushrooms onto the apple to give it a curve. And the chanterelle mushrooms I make cupped upwards. So you kind of poke your fingertip into the tip of it and you form it around your fingertip. For these mushrooms, I just squeezed a little at the top. These are little brown cap mushrooms, and then I'm making these red cap mushrooms, amanita mushroom. I think that's how you say it. I made these ones a little pointier than they are in real life because I thought they looked cute.
What are you doing? Hey, do it over here. I can't see a thing.
So let's try to get this in frame. When I first tried to do this, I used the X-Acto knife to cut in the gills, but then I switched over to my ball stylus because it actually worked better anyway. And just shape your mushrooms. These are all dried. And now we're going to paint. I have reference pictures for all these different mushrooms that I'll show as we go. Mostly I'm just using some browns, different shades of brown. I have my black, red, and white. That's beachcomber beige. And for the turkey tail mushrooms, I just start painting on some dark brown stripes, and I let that dry. I just work on these in batches. As I made them in batches, I'm painting them in batches so they can all dry, and I can keep progressing with the project that I have here. So I'm just putting my little stripes and letting that dry so I can work on the underneath of that. I'm just painting on the gills on the underneath with a lighter brown. These mushrooms get a light brown too.
You must watch, dear. It'll all be over soon.
And then when that side is dry, I go in with a lighter brown and I fill in the stripes between the dark brown stripes, and then I bring down like spokes from the center of that mushroom. I bring down like darker stripes, and that gives it the turkey tail effect. And let those dry. These other mushrooms I'm painting with a yellow. These are the chanterelle mushrooms. I'm painting these with yellows I have a school bus yellow and some dark oranges, kind of blending those as I go. Again, reference pictures will help you a lot if you find mushrooms that you want to use, yours to look like. That's what I did. These are little brown caps or oyster mushrooms. They look very similar. There's a lot of these mushrooms that look very similar. And then my red cap mushrooms. I'm painting these as I kind of spiral the mushroom and make little dashes along the bottom going upward and make my dashes smaller and smaller. I'm using tans and beiges on the next coat of the skull and going into the eye sockets and the nose area with some black. I'm just giving it back all its details. I wanted this to be a matte finish, so I painted over it. Plus, this paint sticks very well, and I know that my pieces will stick to this paint better than with no paint. For this, I'm using a brown wash, and what you do with the wash is you add a little water, extra water to your paint, and you brush it on, and it's very watery, and you just dab off the excess, and then the paint goes down into the cracks of your piece and brings out some of your details, and ages the piece as well. Hello, I am working on the skull. We're trying to bring him some new life. Ooh. And with the mushrooms that we've made, that I made with you, we are going to do that and have some different kind of mosses and things like that we're going to put on them. So if you want to see how I attach these to the skull, I like to see that too, because I don't know what I'm going to do. I have a couple different kind of adhesives I'm going to try. This isn't a foam skull, so I can't just poke them in and go from there, because it's just a plastic shell. So I have to glue it to the outside, and we're going to see how well that works. All right? Trial and error. Let's go. Well, I found this little bird nest I wanted to add to the side, so I used some of my Model Magic, and I just made a little base for that to stick to on the side of the skull, and I pressed that in the shape where I wanted it. Now today, that Model Magic is sticking very well on the skull with no extra glue, but if you need extra glue, go ahead and add it. I use Tacky Glue, and I'm trying to add my mushrooms onto the skull, and the Tacky Glue works really well. I just had to hold it a little bit to get it to stick, and just kind of work very slowly around my skull, letting these dry in batches. So I worked on one type of mushroom at a time, and I found different placements where I liked them and I thought they looked nice, and I just kept working on adding mushrooms a little at a time. The turkey tails work out really nice around the cheekbone and the eye socket area and the jawbone. I thought that looked so great. The placement worked out really neat. It blends in well there. The chanterelle mushrooms, I squeezed a little bit on the bottom. It's still very malleable, and I made that flat on the bottom. I used my Tacky Glue to add that onto the skulls. The moss I bought in a great big sheet It's a fake moss, and I just peel it off that sheet and I use it just like this flocking, except for it's a little more chunkier. So I add that all over. I cover up that place I made to hold the bird nest and around some of the bases of the mushrooms and the chin of the skull. I thought I'd give it kind of a neat pirate look. And again, I'm going to use some of that Citadel grass flocking. That's actually used with a little contraption that has static electricity. I don't have that contraption, but it gives the grass a really neat effect where it'll stand up when you use it. But right now I'm just using it as a flocking, and I think that looks really nice too. I found these cute little gnomes at the Dollar Tree, and I added them in here to give it a little more life. And now they have a home too.
This is the end, beautiful friend.
Thank you for stopping by the Thrifted Dragon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. It helps our page grow. Don't forget to check our Facebook page, The Thrifted Dragon. And if you make a project that I've shown you here, please share it to the page so we can see it. We really appreciate the interaction that you give us. Leave any feedback for future projects that you'd like to see me make. I know that Halloween is coming up. I have some costume ideas, party festivity ideas, and a lot of fun projects. Come back, see us again next week. Okay, bye. Thank you so much for coming to the Thrifted Dragon channel today. See these mushrooms right here? Woo! These are called turkey tail mushrooms, because they look like turkey tails. Today on the Thrifted Dragon. If you see mushrooms like this, don't eat them. They're poisonous. They'll kill you. What did one skull say to the other skull? Nothing. Nothing at all. Nifty. These kind of mushrooms, I guess you can eat. They're called chanterelles. I'm gonna look that up. And these kind of mushrooms, if you find them, they're also probably edible, but don't take my word for it. Do your research. Check out this fun guy. Right?